is Music Parley.
And we are on. My guest today is Samantha Ann. She's a singer, a songwriter, as well as a music journalist from Texas. So, Samantha, I find your personal story to be very inspirational, and I really like your music. I'd love to take this opportunity to learn and find out more about it and you. I'm very curious and really excited about this. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time and interest in everything that's important to me, and it's really special. So thank you.
Are you ready to dive in?
Yes. Sorry.
No worries. So, how did you get started in music?
Well, I started off in 2009. I embarked on my journey after completing high school. I graduated and I moved to Nashville, Tennessee, and I began recording my music. I had a few songs whenever I had moved over there, and I was blessed with the privilege of being able to record at the prestigious Sound Kitchen studio in Franklin, Tennessee. And there they have so many different artists that they've recorded. They have a big clientele of some big names. And so I just felt completely humbled and honored to have that experience. But moving on after that, I saw my songs start moving up in charts, and I just really became interested in how the mechanics behind the music works. And so I got involved this past year in 2020. I enrolled in a music industry essentials course through New York University, where I was able to study the ins and outs of the music industry and exactly what makes it function. And so that's kind of been resonating with me since I completed the course, just a little bit stronger for the passion that I once had in 2009 and 2010.
What are the biggest takeaways, since you mentioned NYU? What are the biggest takeaways from your education there so far?
I would say my biggest takeaway would be how to network properly and sound professional rather than just spamming someone with your music. Because in the beginning, I'm going to admit, I really did do that. I would just see an important name and I would spam on my music. I would send them my music like, hey, my name's Samantha Ann. I have a cool message here. Take a listen to my song. That's not how it's supposed to be done. You introduce yourself first. You make a connection. You network. Actually, I take the time and network. Once you're comfortable with that person, then, share, hey, I actually have a song that you might want to listen to since you're going through this situation. Here's the link. And if you do it that way, establish a connection first, then you reap the benefit of having a potential listener to your music, and they might be able to do something with it. You never know who you talk to. It just takes one door to open and you're there.
What are the specific classes you took there? Was it one class or was it just?
It was just one. It was one course. They had different modules in the course, like different, I guess, courses within the course. There were about 12 of them. And so they went over finances, they went over production, they went over studios, and it was a really rewarding course to take.
Which one of all of those, in your opinion, was the most useful?
I would say probably the networking and being personal with somebody. How I had explained before, it's very important to just instead of putting yourself out there in a way where you're vulnerable, and you need to use your vulnerability, yes, but not in a spamming kind of way. Be more personal. And I believe that was truly my biggest just takeaway from the course overall, my favorite part of it, because I get to use it every single day. I use what I learned in that course. I actually utilize it every day.
Good stuff. Going back to your music, do you have any rituals when it comes to writing a song or when you get in the studio and record?
When writing a song, not typically. I have a specific spiral that I've been writing in. I've been continuously writing in. So if I'm gonna write a song, I have to grab that specific spiral. But my studio routine, if I'm gonna go record in the studio, I always eat a bag or half a bag of hot Cheetos.
Why?
And the spiciness, I guess, it just helps my vocal cords. It I don't even know how to explain it. I tried asking a doctor, why do I sound better after I eat hot Cheetos? I have no idea. It just happens. But I heard that I'm not the only artist who does this. I know Halsey does it. Pink does it. Julia Michaels does it, actually. I just found that out. And it's just, it's interesting because I never knew about other people doing this. And whenever I found this out with the Julia Michaels rapid fire interview, I was like, hey, that's pretty interesting that they do that too. Maybe there's like a secret that we discovered, you know?
Yeah, that's exactly why I'm asking these questions, these kinds of questions. You know, everybody has a different thing. And
yeah, hot Cheetos and room temperature water.
okay, what about tea? Like hot tea?
Tea's really good too. But for me, I can't really mix the hot Cheetos and tea combination.
Yeah.
Because well, I don't know how it would taste, one. Two, I think it would kind of open my vocal cords too much. Because you still want to have a grasp on what you're singing and you want to have a control. If you open it up too much, then anything could come out, really.
Yeah, I can imagine. So where do you draw your inspiration from in your music?
Through life experiences. I would say I have really positive and encouraging songs because I've gone through some pretty horrible and tough situations in my life. And I needed to hear those songs to lift myself up out of the despair and out of the helplessness that I was in. I ended up writing some songs out of those experiences. I was told in 2005 that I would never be able to walk again. And that experience alone, my song, Hold On, came out of that experience. And the lyrics are pretty simple. It's hold on to something, even when you've got nothing, and keep on smiling when you're near crying. And those are the words that I needed to hear in that specific moment. And so I kind of just wrote them down, hoping that they would touch another person the way that they helped my life, those lyrics. And so I draw my inspiration just from what goes on in my life and what triggers a song, really.
You kind of already answered this, but I would like you to elaborate if possible. On an emotional level, what would you ideally like people to feel when they listen to your tracks?
Encouraged. I would love for my music to lift somebody up in a way that nothing else could. I mean, music speaks to you totally differently than somebody sitting there talking to you. Music, because you can put the emotion behind what you're driving towards somebody, you can absolutely put something encouraging in front of somebody and say, look, I have this message for you. I want you to shine. I want you to thrive through what you're going through. I want you to just take this joy that I felt during this moment while writing this specific song and make it your own. Turn it into your own story.
That's
and
powerful.
that's pretty much it. Yeah.
That's powerful. Is there a record that you wish you would have made? Like, is there a particular song that makes you just go, God, I wish I made that song?
I actually just recently, Julia Michaels released her album, not in chronological order. And she has a few songs on there that I was just like, I really could have written that. I don't know why I didn't think of that. She has a song called That's the Kind of Woman. It's not one of her debuts, or it's not one of her singles that she's promoting, but it is a song on the album. And so I went ahead and went through the whole album, and I really enjoyed that song. It's just so powerful to me how she was able to think from a different perspective and write. And so I really was like, I really wish that I would have come up with that song. And so I actually kind of wrote my own version of her song recently. And I tell myself, if I would have written that song, it would go like this. These would be the words, just to kind of prove to myself that I could do it. So I even went as far as to copying the song and doing it myself with my own lyrics.
I do the exact same thing. I think for musicians, this is the difference between like a person who enjoys music and a person who makes music. You know, when we listen to a song that really gets to us, we gotta remake it. We gotta make it our own. We gotta put our twist on it. We cannot just listen to it. That's not enough. Yeah.
Exactly.
Interesting. What about your music journalism career? How did that start?
Well, I've always, like I've said, I've always been interested in music. While networking after gaining the skills from the courses that I took, I was able to recognize more that I have a gift for speaking to other musicians, for speaking to higher ups and representatives of big companies. I actually realized that I have a voice, and I am somebody special. I am somebody unique. I believe that I have the drive and the goals to truly do the research and translate it into something relatable, into content that's relatable for readers, and something that you just read and it clicks to you like, oh, okay, that's how that works. I kind of wanted to be that person to introduce new musical things to people, because my entire life, anytime that I've found a song musically interesting or anything with music that I found interesting, I immediately go and share with a friend. Like, you have to check this out. You have to see this, to anybody. And strangers on the street, I know that I've shown like random videos to, like, look what I found today. And so I realized, I should be writing this down. I write, I enjoy writing. And so that's kind of how that came about, is I realized that I had the potential, and somebody had suggested to me, well, why don't you just be a music journalist? And I thought about it, and I was like, that doesn't really sound like it's for me. And then I tried it, and it absolutely was a perfect fit. And I enjoy it completely. I love writing about other musicians. I love writing about their journey and learning so many different things, learning history about music, getting to write more. That's a dream in itself.
What does your role at Celeb Magazine consist of specifically?
Well, currently I'm writing for Celeb Magazine. And previously, I had done an interview for a podcast with Iced Mind magazine. It's more of a gaming, new age magazine that hasn't been released yet. They're actually due to be released in a couple of months. And I'm also, I have a few ghostwriting things that I'm not supposed to be really communicating about, but I do write for other sources. But right now, my main focus is Celeb and getting those articles out there. I'm also a freelance journalist. So whenever I write, it could be targeted towards any company that desires that type of article.
Well, since you have your fingers on a pulse, on the music scene pulse, so well, what is the music scene like in Texas, for example?
Well, currently Texas is opening back up after the pandemic, and we are starting to see more concerts. I wouldn't say everywhere, but like I've gotten a few alerts on my phone and on my calendar for concerts in my area, and for people coming out with new music and during the pandemic, I was just so shocked with how Texas artists came together and did this phenomenal thing. Recently in Texas, we had a tragedy. We had an ice storm. It iced over South Texas, and we actually lost a lot of crop. We lost a lot of the meat sources, a lot of cattle. We lost a lot in this storm, and Texans came together, and Matthew McConaughey was involved as well, and put on this giant music festival to raise awareness for how severe the storm in Texas really was. And so musicians from all over, just Texas musicians who live all over the planet, came together, and musically we had a blowout. It was a blast for Texas to get to see everybody come together and just unite as one big family. And Texans are very proud. We're a very proud breed of people. And so for others to come in and try to share our unity, it was pretty amazing to see. Musically, everybody is booming. People are coming out with new albums that they recorded at their home studios, that they mastered somewhere else. And just so the music in Texas is coming back up, and it's coming rapidly.
Amazing. Especially the way everybody got together and help out during a force majeure situation. I'm curious, is this togetherness a prevalent feeling overall, or was it due to the situation?
Well, Texans, like how I said, we're a very proud group of people. We had that unity and connection before, but after this concert, after this event that was hosted by Matthew McConaughey, I believe that we're a lot closer, and I believe that we've definitely, it's been a positive completely after raising awareness throughout the country and throughout the nation. And yeah.
Amazing. As an artist yourself, I'm curious, are you receptive to collaborating with foreign artists? For artists, for example, that are not from the US, from Texas, European artists, for example, like from France or Germany or Italy or whatever. Are you receptive to that?
Absolutely, definitely. I enjoy a challenge, and I know that would be challenging. And I also enjoy networking with people who live in different cultures. Some of my favorite people that I know live in Uganda. And I've actually been working with an artist, with a rapper in Uganda, about me singing a few licks on one of his new songs. And so I'm definitely receptive to the idea of performing or collaborating with another artist, especially from a foreign country. I think that's exciting, and it opens the doors for new opportunities, not only in whatever country they're from, but in our country as well. And it promotes unity amongst human beings, because right now in this hard time, we need to come together as one big planet and just realize that human life is special. Human life is something that we need to be fighting for. Definitely.
And the bridging the cultures also is a very important factor.
Yes, exactly.
What kind of do you listen to international music? Like, do you have any international artists that
I do.
You listen to?
I listen to the rapper in Uganda. I do listen to, there's also a Nigerian artist that I'm interested. There's a French artist.
What are their names?
Bishroni is the name of the French artist. And then Wade, it's Waade. He's from Uganda, and he is just phenomenal. He sings in his language and in English as well. So he's kind of doing a crossover himself. But he's definitely my favorite so far.
Why? What exactly do you like?
Well, actually, he just called me yesterday to check up on me, to check up on how I was doing, and just to make sure I'm still working on my music, because there are some times whenever I let my music sit there for a little bit. I'll let it sit for a couple of days. I can't go long without it, just because I have to play my guitar every day. And if I don't, then it's just, I go chaotic. But he called yesterday to check up, and I thought it was just so genuine and so sweet. Like there was no ulterior motive behind it. It was just a phone call to check and see how I was doing, to make sure I was still working on my music. And he told me that he's releasing a new song soon, but they've been going through really big struggles in Uganda right now. They don't have the vaccine. They have it there, but for the really, really wealthy people, which there aren't very many. And he just basically updated me on what's going on in their culture, in their world, and getting that privilege of being able to speak to an artist in such a different place is so humbling and so just incredible that we even get that opportunity. So right now he's my favorite artist, just because he checked on me, and he's really impressive with his lyrics and how far he goes and the depth that he goes into his lyrics. He's proud of what he does, and I think that's pretty amazing.
I definitely need to check him out after this call.
Yes, and it's Wade, Waade.
Can you put it in the chat, please?
Absolutely, I will do that right now.
Thank you. So in terms of your career, what is the ideal destination you'd like to reach professionally? Where would you like to take your career?
I would like to perform in Greece.
Why? Why so specific?
I don't know. I've had a dream of going and performing in Greece. It's just something that I've always harbored. I have no idea why. Honestly, there's no specific reason. There's not a specific person. There's no influence behind it. It's just something that's pitted in my soul, and I have to do it one day. If not, I'm gonna go crazy. But I would love to do just an acoustic set in Greece, just any, or I would love to sing at the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, Tennessee. It's here in the United States, but it's a well-known venue. It's an opera house, and it's called the Grand Ole Opry, and it's for country artists who just celebrate country music and the life of country music. And it's something that everybody in my family has always watched, the Grand Ole Opry on whatever weekday it plays. I don't remember if it's Saturday or Sunday, but they're real involved in watching it. And so I would one day like to be on the Grand Ole Opry, just so I can show my family, look, I did it.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. But I was referring in a more professional way, in the sense of, would you like to be signed to a major label? Would you like to be independent?
Okay, I thought you meant like a literal place.
No. Okay.
So I would like to create my own record label. I would like to own my own label for artists who struggle with any sort of ailment, anything that they feel that holds them back from being a musician. I would like to be there for them and guide them through an outstanding career, because I had done it myself, speaking figuratively. I want to get to the point where I'm so successful that I can just share with other artists my little secrets and just helping them thrive, because my entire life I've been put inside a box. I have epilepsy, And I also have manic bipolar depression. One's a health issue physically and one's a health issue mentally. And they both completely change who I am if I let it. Music is what regulates me and keeps me moving. I want to help other people who are like me, who have been placed in that similar box with people on the outside of the box saying, you can't do this, you have a mental illness. You can't do this, you have epilepsy. I want to be the person to say, you can do this. Let me show you how. Let me guide you through these stages, these steps. I went through it. I know what to do. Here, take my hand. Let me guide you through this. I want to have that label. I want to be able to help other artists, help other musicians, because on the planet, there are 73% of musicians who struggle with some form of mental illness. 73% of musicians suffer. And nobody is speaking up about it. There are musicians, there are artists who go and they talk about their mental state, and they do discuss their mental health or health problems that they're going through. Yes, that's after they've become established, though. The process of becoming an established artist is very hard as it is. Add epilepsy to that. Add manic bipolar depression to that. The list goes on what you can add. But I want to be able to take those pressures off of an artist. So that's really truly where I want to be, is helping other musicians, helping other artists as myself become the best version of themselves musically as possible.
So how would you go about building that label? Like, do you have a business plan? Do you have a strategy?
I right now, everything's still in the sketch and doodles, I guess, stage. I'm trying to work things out to where I can get my LLC for my own business. I'm going to start there, start establishing the concept, because I can copyright, I can come up with the concept for this label, and I can go ahead and have it for my own and become established as a musician, see how far I can get as a musician, let whatever royalties or whatever, anything from my music flow over into the label itself. And then I want to expand from there. I have a few artists in mind who I would enjoy working with. And I think I'm visualizing it happening way quicker than it's actually going to happen. But regardless, it's something that, I am planning towards, I am building for it. But I feel like first, myself, I need to become established, just so I can be able to tell people, look, I did it, you did it, you can do it too. So I would say my first step is to become an established artist, get on the Billboard charts, get in front of the right people, get branded, let my name become a brand first. And then I would go ahead and proceed.
What are your efforts towards that? Like, what are you specifically doing to reach that point, to become an established artist like that?
Well, I've been networking with a few dozen people on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is an incredible tool. If you're watching and not on LinkedIn, I highly recommend it. It's just an amazing tool that you can use to network with not only other musicians, but business professionals in the real world. I speak with them and I establish a connection, and sometimes they'll message me back and say, well, let me go ahead and hear your material, or let me show so and so, you know what I mean? And I've been trying to also book more shows now that Texas is opening up, and people are performing. I did a show 2 weeks ago, and it was so good to be back in front of people. It was so refreshing. I had members of the audience come on stage and sing with me. It was just, I'm taking baby steps as we're just coming back into the music scene. After the pandemic, everything's just a little bit trickier, I think, for musicians trying to become a little more established now, because it's not as easy to get out in front of people like you would want to. You have to get clearance from a venue. They have to have specific rules, and there's just so many different steps that you could be taking towards a musical career right now. And I'm still doing baby steps, to be honest. I'm not leaping towards projects just yet. I am writing a lot more. My material is expanding, and I love coming up with new songs. I just wrote a new song yesterday, and I'm very just thrilled to be able to share that with the world. And I know I will soon, because I'm going to be getting in the studio soon. So that's my next step.
How do you approach your live shows? Is there a mood you're going for? Is there like, how do you approach the whole thing?
Usually I get approached. The people usually ask me if they're wanting me to do a show, but if I were wanting to do a show, say there's a place in Texas over here called Concrete Street Amphitheater. Yeah. Say I wanted to get a show there, maybe sometime have a viewing over there for a little set. I would go ahead and I would find out who manages that specific venue. I would reach out to them via email, introducing myself, telling them a little bit about my mission and my goals, and exactly what I could benefit, or how I could benefit the amphitheater, and who I could potentially be bringing in, and they can be repetitive clients to that venue. I basically make a sales pitch for myself and just kind of lay it in front of them as, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, and I would love to perform at your venue. I would be honored to perform in this specific place. So you have to stay grateful. You have to stay humble, even for the opportunity of being able to speak to the owner or the manager of wherever you're trying to play. Be respectful, be humble, be honest with them. Look, I can only do 15 minutes, and then I'd have to take a break, and then I'll do another 15 minutes. It's I would say, approach them gracefully and cautiously, but don't be afraid to be yourself.
Definitely. My question was aiming more towards the crowd. Like, you're actually, when you're already on stage and the crowd is in front of you and you're jamming together, is there a mood you're going for? Is it like, how much?
The shows that I typically do are acoustic shows. And so if I'm playing a song that I know that they would know, like a Johnny Cash song, Johnny Cash is always really popular whenever I go on stage, because, well, nobody's expecting me to be coming out with a Johnny Cash song, first of all. And I get people involved by saying, who wants to come up and sing with me? Just how Johnny Cash would say, hello, I'm Johnny Cash. I would say, hello, I'm Samantha Ann. Who would like to come up on stage and sing this song with me? It's a good, positive, natural energy that you can't go in thinking, oh, this is going to be horrible because somebody else is singing with me. No, you're going to have to perform and say, okay, this is going to be fun. And that's really the attitude that you need to have, the energy, the inviting spirit.
Yeah, definitely. I think I might steal that for my own things.
Yeah, do
Um,
it.
So I would love to transition a little bit into life and philosophies right now. I know that in our previous discussion, you briefly told me the almost incredible story of your parents. Could you expand on that a little bit? Like how they met and all that? And what was
Yeah.
it like for you to grow up in such an artistic environment?
Well, my parents are both very creative, and they've been their entire lives. My mom decided at the age of 14 that she was going to be a model. And my father, whenever he turned 18, decided he wanted to go into acting. Well, they had a movie going in San Antonio. They were going to film in San Antonio, which was really close by to my small town Freer. And my mother lived close by San Antonio too, in Houston, well, Galveston. And they actually met up on the set of the movie Johnny Be Good in 1981. And my dad was supposed to dance with another lady. They were just background dancers, dancing, slow two steps, slow dancing with each other. And my dad paid the man who was casted to dance with my mom. My dad said, you know what? I'll give you my pay for today if you let me dance with her. If I get to dance with her, you can get paid what I'm getting paid. And so the guy was like, yeah, okay. It's another $100 because back then, like, they weren't doing that much.
Yeah.
And so he was like, yeah, it's another $100. I'm going to do it. And so my mom and my dad met, and they have their first kiss on camera. They have their first conversation on camera. And afterwards, they did a few things. My dad did a few movies, and my mom did tons more photo shoots. But they were always really creative around the home. My brothers and I were always putting on plays. That was our thing. I'm the only girl in the family, and I have brothers, and I also had some cousins who lived with us at the time. They were all boys. And so there were like 7 boys and 1 girl. And I would make all of the boys, I would be the director, and I would make all of the boys just perform. And I would put on a play, and I would write a script for each of them. They only had to say like 3 lines. But my father was really supportive of that because he enjoyed acting, and he enjoyed the time on the screen, and he knows the privileges that acting could get you. And my mom was always, I've been modeling since I was 14. And my mom really encouraged that within me. And now I have a little girl, and she started modeling, and she's just over the moon about it. And she started acting. She actually did a script the other day, a monologue for Oreo cookies the other day, and she nailed it, and she blew it out of the park. And I was so excited, and I was just like, the creative gene just passed right down to her.
Of course it did.
Like, it's amazing how being around creativity can just make your creativity fluctuate throughout your body, throughout your mind, throughout your soul. It's amazing. And being around my parents was such a joy growing up because they were both very supportive of the arts. My uncle actually is a musician who right now he's touring in, I think, Australia or New Zealand. He's touring out in Australia, I believe. But he's a country artist from the small South Texas town, just like me. And he lives in Nashville, and he has a couple of records out on the radio, and he gets a good amount of people show up to his shows, and he has a good fan base. And so I get to watch him become the best version of himself musically. And so that's pretty amazing as well. It just kind of, the creativity and love for music and art just flows through my family.
Amazing. Amazing. I already, first discussion, I already heard that story before, but it's just so beautiful that I think everybody should hear it, so that's why I asked the question.
Yeah. I wish I could say it more eloquently, like without my hands and,
No worries.
without stuttering and stuff.
Can feel the emotion just takes over whenever you talk about it. I can see it on your face, in your eyes and so on. How do you feel about the law of attraction? Do you believe in that?
Definitely. I believe in the law of attraction. I believe in self-fulfilling prophecy. If you see it and you believe it, you will achieve it. And that has been something that resonates throughout my life, simply because I'm very good at visualizing. I'm very good at seeing what could be a possibility for me. And I visualize it so hard, and I put so much energy towards anything in specific. If something comes to me and I think about it hard enough, it just always happens. It always comes true. And I know it's because I'm putting forth positive energy, good vibes. I'm putting love into my thoughts. I'm giving a little bit of myself with each thought and not really expecting things to come my way, but I just put things out there and they manage to find their way back to me. Maybe it might not be in an instant. It might not happen exactly when I wished for it. But eventually, once it does happen, you take a moment, you think about, you know what? I put a lot of energy towards that. I think that it's because I put forth that energy. And it's something amazing to me.
I'm gonna ask you a tough question, and we can edit it out if you don't like it afterwards, but I'm just curious what would your opinion be? What would your approach be as someone who comes from this perspective of good vibes and positivity and so on? How do you feel about the cancel culture, and how do you approach that?
About the what culture?
The cancel culture.
That recently happened to an artist here in the United States called Morgan Wallen. What you're describing, the canceling of everything, that recently happened to him because he said something that was perceived as racist.
Exactly, yeah.
And okay, so my opinions on that.
Yeah, your opinion on that, in terms of what are your thoughts on it, and how do you perceive it, and how maybe you can adapt to it, because at the end of the day, almost anything can be offensive, even.
Yes.
Yeah,
you can take anything out of context.
Exactly.
Like, look at the color of her shirt, that must mean this. It's ridiculous, but there are people who do make valid points, and I do respect what other people believe. I'm not going to sit there and tell somebody they're wrong for believing in what they believe or how they believe. But in that sort of circumstance where an artist just completely gets canceled out, I think,
I mean, is there any way to prepare for it, to prevent it? Because
I mean, I don't think that there's a way of stopping it, but preventing it, I believe, if you get a coach, make sure that you're not tweeting by yourself. If you are an official public figure, if you are in the public eye, always have somebody next to you helping you read and monitor what you say. Because if you're just by yourself, you could say anything stupid and think, oh my gosh, that's funny, and send it. But if you have somebody next to you, like kind of like a voice of reason, they could say, hey, maybe that's not the best decision to say that because of this. I would think that that would be a good preventative for saying something that could be potentially dangerous, something that could be career altering. I believe that there should be people who speak for artists, but artists should speak for themselves. But don't push that line. Don't cross that line of being insensitive. It could be difficult for some people because of the way that they grew up, the way that they believe. And now everybody is so hypersensitive to anything. Just, you really have to be careful what you say nowadays. And I think if you have somebody next to you reading whatever you post, I think that could be a good preventative, honestly.
Here's my second question to that then. I know that audiences are formed and they respond to authenticity, you know? Mm-hmm. Doesn't that prevent authenticity? Having that person?
I believe that if a person is saying how they're feeling and expressing themselves, there are different ways to express yourself. Like for a musician, an example, show your emotion in your art. Express yourself through your art. You don't have to necessarily go out there and just say, I don't like this because of this. You can express yourself through your art, through your music, through even if it's just the music, no lyrics. Put your emotion, what your hurt, your struggle, take it out on your music and let your audience resonate with your music and just take what you have to say in a beautiful form, rather than listening to it directly where words can be tangled and twisted.
Yeah, this is a very good point. I never thought about that.
Speak through your music, just speak through your art. There are different approaches to still remain authentic, but to express yourself in a way to where it's eloquent, to where you get a good response.
Yeah, this is a good answer. I never thought about it. I sometimes like to ask tough questions just because I'm curious about them, you know, and I want to know the thoughts of other people on it. So, do you have any routines that keep you creative in terms of your output, your creative output? Some things that you perhaps do daily or weekly that keep you sharp? Do you have any of those?
I play the guitar every day. I enjoy playing the guitar, and I like to strengthen just my knowledge of notes, and I read other people's songs and I try to play them on the guitar, and that kind of keeps me sharp, and I get to hear different notes. I get to hear different ways that people are expressing themselves, and I get to relate that onto my life. And so that's kind of fun for me, that I enjoy doing, is playing cover songs. And I've noticed that whenever I'm learning a cover song, I always start writing my own song. It always just starts happening. Yeah. And so I'm just like, okay, wait, I'm going to learn this Julia Michaels song, but I'm like, oh, but these lyrics are so great, so I have to go write them down. So I'll get my spiral and write down my lyrics. So I think learning cover songs would probably be my creative juice, my go-go juice.
That's cool. Yeah, that's really great. How about this? 100 years from now, what would you like to be remembered for, as a musician as well as a person?
I would like to be remembered for the girl who was misunderstood, but brought so many people together. My goal is to bring other musicians like myself together in unity, to know that they're not alone, because some of these diseases, some of these illnesses do make you feel alone. And I know a lot of people in the world, they feel alone. I want to just be the person that whenever somebody thinks of unity, they might hear one of my songs in their head. They might feel a beat or a rhythm that I came up with, that I was going through a certain situation in my life, and I put this to words or to song. I put this to music, and you picked it up and turned it into something beautiful in your life. I want to be the person known for just love and unity amongst humans, amongst people, especially those with illness, people who do have ailments. I want to make sure they know that they're not alone, that you can do anything because look at me.
That's beautiful. That truly is beautiful.
Thank you.
See, this is an emotional roller coaster. I kind of got this feeling when in our first discussion as well, but this is talking to you is an emotional roller coaster. You cannot help but get in your feelings when we talk. At least
Yeah,
I can, you know.
definitely. I'm feeling it.
How about this? If you could be stuck on an island with only 3 albums, what would those albums be?
With 3 albums, one of them would be George Strait. He's one of my absolute favorite country artists. He reminds me of my dad. My dad reminds me of him. It's just, my dad has always listened to his music, knows every word to every song, has him playing all day long in his room and on his headphones, the same artist. So I would say George Strait for sure, because he reminds me of my dad. I would say The Doors. I love The Doors. I don't know which album though.
Early stuff or later?
Gosh, and there's not even a happy medium for that either. I would say the earlier stuff.
What about
whenever they were still figuring things out?
Yeah, experimenting.
And they were improvising with instruments, and I think that's a really important tool for any musician. Any musician should check that out, just because they improvised with instruments, turned things that weren't instruments into music. And that's pretty incredible to me. So that reminds me of strength and empowerment, that you can get through any situation. So if I were trapped, I would definitely want to be in a different situation. And my third album would probably be that's tough. The Selena would be Selena. She's a Latina artist. She's very big here in Texas because she's from Corpus Christi, which is about an hour and 45 minutes away from where I live. But she was a big influence on my life, and I decided to become a musician because of her. And she just makes me feel like a little kid when I listen to her music, like I'm relearning everything all over again anytime I listen. And I know that she's deceased now. She was murdered.
What?
But she was murdered in 94 or 95.
That's good.
But yes, but she's still one of my favorite artists. Like, I was just jamming Selena yesterday. She sings in Spanish. I'm bilingual. I forgot to mention that. But yes, she sings in Spanish, and she's just so empowering. And her knowing her story and how she became who she is, she really climbed from the bottom and made it to the top, and was about to make an American crossover album before she had passed. She had these great plans and these great goals and this big future in front of her, and somebody took it away from her. But her music is still at the top of the charts. years after she passed away. That means something. That means that her music has had an impact. For me, I would love to be trapped on an island with a Selena album.
Yeah, I can see that. Knowing the story, I don't know her music. I never heard it. Perhaps you can put some music in the chat room so I can listen to it afterwards.
Oh, you're getting Selena after this. Don't worry.
Please do. That's powerful. I wonder, why do all the great musicians and like people who actually stand up for something end up dying too early? I don't know. Like,
it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. There's a trend I've noticed. Whenever like artists, maybe not everyone, but a lot of artists that stand up for unity, that stand up for togetherness, for a lot of the things you mentioned, like John Lennon, like even Tupac had that, like he wanted to make a label to bring everybody together with an educational element to it and so on, and they just die too early. They get killed for some reason. Why?
Something happened.
Yeah. Some mysterious accident, some whatever, like that.
I think because they were onto something. They were onto something great. Greatness was about to happen, and for some reason, the universe just says that greatness can't be achieved because the world still has to figure this out. Yeah, you figured out the trick, but I don't know. It seems like a conspiracy, but we never know why we go through situations. We never know why we go through certain experiences, why there's world hunger. But you have to trust that everything's going to be okay. You have to have a hope. If you don't have hope, then you have nothing.
Yeah, true.
Because you're living a blank life if you have no hope. You have to look forward to something. Something has to drive you. Something has to completely just overwhelm you so much that it drives you to be better at whatever situation comes up to you.
You gotta be willing to die for something.
Yes. And for me, that is the definition of love. It's when you're willing to put your heart and soul into something.
Yeah.
That's love.
I see that. I can feel it. So it's really hard to transition into anything else after this, because I feel like this is a high point of the discussion. I don't think we can top this.
Definitely.
But still, I would love to transition a bit into technology and future opportunities a little bit.
Okay.
What are the biggest development opportunities you see for young artists these days?
I would definitely say right now, just putting videos out there, being able to translate how you're feeling through a music video is something that's still pretty impressive to me. You get to, I know it's not like as modern because there have been music videos around for a really long time. But the fact that you're able to share your art and something that you created, something that you thought of, and you're able to put together as a visual, not only are you hearing it, you're getting to listen and experience that, you're getting to see it as well. For me, that is something outstanding. And I'm never going to get over music videos and how important they are. So that's kind of what sticks with me.
What about people looking to get in their first job in music? I'm talking journalists like yourself, A&Rs, booking agents, curators. Do you think it's easier for them to get their foot in the door today than it was years ago? And what kind of advice would you have for them?
I think that it would be easier now because there are tools such as LinkedIn where you can network with somebody instantly. I was just 2 days ago speaking with the editor of People magazine, and I didn't think that was a possibility for me a few years ago. 2 years ago, I would have never guessed that I would be speaking with the editor of People magazine. And sure enough, I got that opportunity. and LinkedIn was a huge tool for that. I would say that it's a lot easier now compared to having to get your foot in the door, working your way up. That's kind of how I got my start as a journalist. Is I tried squeezing in my foot in the door to begin with. I met with people who weren't the highest of names in a company. I asked them questions and they're like, you know what, this might be a question for so-and-so. So they'll give me their information and then it just goes up from there. And then the next thing you know, you're talking to the editor of People magazine. And so it was really simple. Like, I hate to say it because you're supposed to say, it was such hard work. I put so much dedication and determination into doing this. But no, it was really just be friendly, be yourself, and it'll shine through for you. It'll work out. My advice would be to remain your authentic self, remain professional, stay positive, be encouraging to others, lift people up, speak with love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness to yourself, and self-control. There are so many different tools that you could use to spark up a conversation. Don't be afraid to go into your tool belt and bust out a random tool. You have so many capabilities now. It's just ridiculous. Use them, utilize them, be the person that you didn't think that you could be. Go out there. Don't give up. Stay hopeful.
If, God forbid, the music thing doesn't work, you could definitely have a career as a motivational speaker or a preacher or something like that, because you just have that soul. I don't know. Like a few times within our conversation, I just feel like, preach. You have that thing going on. I don't know what it is, but I love it.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Lastly, please tell the people what to expect from you in the future. Any new projects, new initiatives, things you're working on.
Well, I would say the new song that I worked on yesterday, I started working on, it's going to be a hit. I already know before the songs get recorded and selected, I already know which songs are going to be like, whoa, this is a game changer. And this song for me is a game changer. It's called Only One, and it's very soulful. It's very soulful, and I reach a different depth in my voice and in my lyrics. And so I'm really excited to share that with the world. And as far as music, I am looking to tour. I am looking to book more shows and gigs and perform live for people, just because it's so fun. It's something that the audience enjoys. I enjoy it. I just like having a good old time with people who love music as much as I do.
Could you try to describe that feeling you get whenever you know a song is gonna be a hit? I'm just curious, like, what kind of sensation do you get from it? How can you? Well,
first, I get the butterflies.
Yeah.
As soon as I'll get the tune stuck in my head, and I'll start just randomly playing the tune in my head, and I'll just smile and get the butterflies. And I'm like, okay. And I'll be standing somewhere and the lyrics will pop up in my head, and my heart starts rushing, and I immediately run to my room and I gotta go get my guitar. I gotta pick it up and I gotta start playing it. It's one of those things where it's indescribable, but I'm gonna try my best because I want to share it with you. It's so great. it is a feeling that you want to share. And so you go ahead and you pour that feeling that you have, that excitement, that joy, that pride, you pour that into the song. And whenever other people receive it, they're able to experience the way you were feeling as well. So when the feeling would be like how you would feel when you heard your favorite song for the first time, that feeling that it made you feel that, hey, I love this song. Like, like it's definitely like hearing it for the first time, hearing your favorite song for the first time.
So you switch from the artist's perspective to the fan's perspective. Basically, you become your own fan, kind of.
Pretty much. It sounds narcissistic, but
no, it makes total sense. I've heard like
it
artists
works out.
have, yeah. Amazing. Samantha, thank you. This chat has been, like I said, an emotional roller coaster almost, and I'm excited to see where your journey will take you in the future, and hopefully we can.
I'm excited too. I'm excited to see where you go. This is awesome.
Thank you. I hope we can do this again in the future and
absolutely
catch up with the new developments that we have going on.
Yeah, perfect.